You're listening to FINSights, a podcast published by the UNSW Finance and Banking Society.
Welcome to another episode of the FINSights podcast, a podcast from the Finance and Banking Society of the UNSW. So today we're about decentralized finance, or we call it DeFi. And with me today, I have Yuvi, who's from UNCB, to bring us through a little bit of what it actually is and what it will look like in the future, because it seems like it is the way to go in the future. So please take us away, Yuvi.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me on. So from UNCB, DeFi, a term that's been thrown around a lot. Something that obviously I'm biased about, but will grow to an exponential amount because it brings a lot of use cases, especially when it comes to, taking custody of your finance and having the ability to send, receive transactions instantaneously at a very cheap rate. So basically, banks on steroids, I guess you could say, is what it is. So
yeah, how does it actually work? So you don't have the actual bank. So where do you get the money from? That's what I need to know.
So how do you fund that? Is probably through, I say probably, but it's mostly through, I guess, your actual bank account. So, you just inject money in your account, whether it be usually through a centralized exchange. Then you send it to your decentralized wallet, and then you can play around with it as much as you want. DeFi actually is, I guess you could say, made up with a multitude of, decentralized non-custodial products. So it includes decentralized exchanges. So like stuff like MetaMask, which is thrown around, protocols. So which I'll probably speak about later a bit, being Aave and Compound, and then synthetic derivatives, which we just won't go into. Otherwise, it's going to take like forever. So
yeah, that's fair enough. Moving on, what is the purpose of switching to a new method? Because I know that so many people, they are very comfortable where they are with banks. I trust the bank. People may not trust DeFi. It's like going into new waters. You're swimming in somewhere new. You're being thrown into the deep end. So what is the actual purpose?
It's a good question, actually. I think the purpose of it is, like I said before, to have custody over your own finances and having the ability to do a lot more with your money than you usually would with a bank. So in traditional banking and finance, it's centralized, which means that one overarching authority has all the control and power and can oversee sort of what you're doing, I guess you could say. And basically, decentralized finance sort of undermines that and brings this whole new prowess. So for example, I'm not sure if you're familiar with fractional reserve banking. It's basically okay. It's basically a thing where, for example, if I give the $100 to a bank, then what they actually do is $10 of that is actually liquid. So something you can take out, whereas they end up using $90 in their own endeavors, dishing out loans, doing all these investment stuff like that. And therefore that's what I guess digresses and belittles the amount of savings interest rates that you get. So, bank saving rates are 0.3% if you're really lucky. Whereas, DeFi brings this whole thing of you can still save your money and stake it, I guess you could say. So flexibly, put in your account and earn however much, depending on the products that you use. So it has definitely a wide range of services. Yeah.
Okay. So how much will it cost to borrow if we go use DeFi?
Yeah. So cost to borrow, I think, is dependent on the actual lending platform. If I were to take that question, make it a little bit more broad, I would say a recent transaction that happened was someone actually sent $900 million from one decentralized wallet to another one using the Bitcoin network. And the cost is only 93 cents. That's it. For such a large magnitude, a large amount, it was less than $1. Whereas, you go to the flip side where banks would end up taking at least a 2-3% fee, which in this case is $27 million. and it would be a lot slower because there's all this KYC onboarding stuff, and it would at least take a month. It's just too much stress, you know.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it sounds like it will be better for my bank account, or I should say DeFi account in the future, because I'll be saving so much more money. But you raised something up before regarding the savings rate. So when you mean you get it from, I don't know, how does the savings rate work? Where do you get the money or the rate from?
Right. So in regards to a lending protocol for DeFi, a lot of it is just predetermined by the actual lending protocol. So
it's a similar thing to borrowing.
It varies quite a bit. It is a similar thing to, I guess, borrowing at a bank, but it's usually higher. Like for example, I'm not sure right now, but for example, if you want to borrow Ethereum, then you can, what it's called is lend it, and that can be used as your collateral. So collateral is a way of saying like your safe haven. So if you can't pay the loan back, that's sort of like your guarantee. So like sort of thing, you know what I mean? It's sort of like a mortgage in a way. So like if you can't pay back your mortgage, then they'll just take your house or like liquidate other assets. Similar in this. And then usually it's like a 3-4% return rate, which is always usually better than like 0.1% that the bank gives you. And on top of that, you have so many more things you can do. So
no, that's amazing. It would be very good to see what happens in the future with that. But moving forward again is the money shot question. Actually, this is what we want to know. Will banks ever be replaced? Or how will they change in the future? Because it seems like DeFi is this whole new thing that could just take over our existing structure in terms of the banking system. So yeah, please bring us through that.
Okay, well, the age-old question that everyone's been wanting to answer. So I would put this into two constituents, so two different scenarios. This varies like here and there, depending on the news that comes out. I think the first scenario is definitely that both these things can coexist. So banks can still be on their way and like be this whole centralized process that can be deemed as like this safe haven. And the DeFi can still experiment, you know, be invested in and like grow exponentially. And, you know, there's already banking, like executives and like high-ranking banking institutions who are going to like DeFi platforms because they know it's like sort of like the next big thing. But even then, they are going to come to like this mutual understanding and sort of this thing of, okay, you have your role and you have your role. That's it, right? But I think the second one is that DeFi could end up replacing it. So it's like a either or. So either DeFi can end up being like this thing that completely undermines banks and puts them out of business, or banks can just, you know, come through and regulate it. So that's a big thing that's been happening recently, which is why it makes this scenario a lot more plausible, I guess you could say, especially when it comes to Australian tax regulations and like, especially America and stuff, the implementation of CBDC being centralized bank digital currencies. So once those come into effect, it's basically a thing of taking a decentralized crypto, like a finance thing, and then just making it centralized. So you reap all the benefits of the blockchain and it's just centralized. So like they can still invigilate and sort of see what's going on.
Yeah, that sounds much more secure if you do that. But I'd be scared it gets too centralized, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. And like regulation in that area, how would that work? It's so easy to regulate banks, but this thing here, DeFi, can't regulate it, can you?
Oh, yeah. That's a shocking question. It's very hard to regulate something that you can't control, right? It's one of those, I think that's the whole message behind it, where having the custody of your own products gives you like this, just this confidence and ability to do so many things with the money that you have, rather than constantly being watched by like a big authority. But like I said, like regulating something like this will be hard. I think if they were to go forward with it, then they try to aim it at the root being like, if you are to, I guess, start up or create a new company, this is what you're limited to, rather than go for the solution. So like I said, there's a lot of transparency. Who do you know is who? Like, how do I know your wallet address is like 0x56A2? Like, you can't, right? It's really hard to pinpoint someone who they are unless you have very solid evidence. So
Yeah,
I think regulation.
Yeah. So, I was gonna say, sorry, the credit rating as well. Like that was a perfect time to jump in, but yeah, you can't know that credit rating of the other person either.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a huge thing as well. Like, because there are definitely a lot of credit rating, I guess, protocols and stuff out there that sort of focus on that. But I feel like they're not big enough yet, or it's like an oligopoly in a way, which basically means there's like a whole range of like big players that try to, I guess, dazzle with credit rating, but you don't know which one is actually true because they're decentralized, right? Like they could be paid off. So there's too many what ifs going on to actually prove if something is fully credible within the DeFi space right now.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see. I hope so. And I hope my credit rating will be good as well. But the actual next question is also a money shot question. What we want to know is what careers look like in this sector in the future. I know there's growth of many startups in this area, but I know that you don't only have to work in those companies to be part of this sector. So maybe even you do something different. Like, yeah, what do you do?
Yeah, so my role within, I guess, the Web3 space, or like,
Wait, what's Web3 again, sorry?
So Web3 is, I guess, revolving or encapsulating anything related to blockchain, I guess you could say in a way. So blockchain, NFT, crypto, DeFi, like all these new jargon that you hear, it all comes under one umbrella, which is Web3. But yeah, my role within Web3 is, it's very community based. So like right now I have a consulting firm, which revolves around, providing advice for current Web2 firms being like current contemporary businesses on how to integrate NFTs and I guess anything related to Web3 within their business model. So yeah, that's the consulting side. And the other one in the more community-based is just Discord moderation. So being a part of all these Discord servers and making sure partnerships go well, making sure people, I guess, are satisfied about the project, sort of listening to feedback, and just, making sure we always improve and have this grandeur.
Yeah. No, that's for you. That's amazing. That's like crazy what people can do. And
thank you.
Do you think you need a specific degree? Well, I do actuarial and economics, but do you need a specific degree to go into a DeFi firm?
No, not at all. Like, okay. I think it is definitely helpful because me personally, I do commerce, but I am obviously, as you stated before, part of the UNCB, the society. That has, I guess, given me a lot of networking opportunities, which have led me to actually holding like these titles and positions. Now, but I feel like even if you don't go to like a university or something like that, or go have this degree or whatever, I think if you just invest yourself within the community and start talking to people and show that you're interested and do a lot of self-learning, you can definitely go very far within this space.
Yeah, but like even then, what would entail a job in a company like that? Would you be doing coding? Would you be talking a lot?
So usually people who end up going into these firms and like they don't go uni and stuff, they usually are self-taught coders, usually. You can end up being other things like product managers, but I feel like that still comes with some form of education or having some sort of internship and stuff. I think that's the other thing I want to address here, being that, okay, sometimes you do need university for certain roles, especially when it comes to stuff like blockchain law. So for example, like, you obviously need like a degree in law, right? But at the same time, having this technical understanding of how blockchain works and the recent regulations and like all this different jazz that is just happening, like just so much hectic stuff. It's always really important to have someone like that. It really is. Another career off the top of my head that comes to my mind is definitely blockchain gaming, right? Like that's something that obviously you don't have to go to university to be a gamer, right? So it provides the opportunity to, I guess, monetize the fact that you can just play games and earn a living of it, right? It's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I remember reading a statistic recently where the gaming industry was worth $186 billion.
That's huge.
And $0 of that went to the players. Absolutely, like zilch. And what's it called? Yeah, I think this provides a great opportunity. Like Axie Infinity last year, an NFT collection, ended up exploding because all these people in the Philippines were able to really invest their resources and time in the game, and they were provided with scholarships and how they were able to, I guess, earn a living from it. It's awesome.
Yeah, but what does the game actually entail? Is it like you buy something and then you trade it or whatever? Is that the game?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I'm not like too super like fanatic about the game itself. It's very much to do with the buying and selling of NFTs. So
right,
it does sort of incorporate with DeFi because you have to learn how to like manage those finances in that space. But the overarching thing is like, yeah, it's about NFTs. The better quality your Axie is, the better it'll like play. It was sort of like a fighting game, if I'm not skewed. Yeah, it's just like 3v3 and stuff. Whoever won to the battle, I guess. And yeah, that's just how it worked.
That's how it worked. Yeah, interesting. Well, I guess that really concludes all the main questions. But I guess the main takeaways was for us all, even me, to read up a bit more on DeFi, to watch a few videos. This was a very good introduction to this sector and area. So thank you so much, Yuvi, for sharing your time and your knowledge. And I hope that you guys will go off and read a bit more. So thank you again.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.